Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Football. We are back for the 2025 season, and Xavier is super excited because his Eagles are coming off of both a Super Bowl win and a Week 1 win. We're going to talk about all of that and more as we get started and get prepared for the first NFL Sunday of the new season. My name is Andrew Howe, of course, joined alongside Xavier. Xavier, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Are you
Happy to
excited?
win.
You excited for another season of NFL?
Yup. And another Eagles Super Bowl victory.
Okay, well, we'll get into our Super Bowl predictions in a little bit, but I know who you're going to be picking because obviously they have already been off to a very good start. But before we get into the games that start off this week, let's first talk about the offseason as a whole because it's been a while since we had our last episode. And remember at the end of the season last year, we were discussing what could be some interesting trades, some interesting free agent moves. But now that the whole offseason has been unveiled, it'll be a good time to kind of take a step back and reflect about what the teams look different going into the 2025 season. So Xavier, let's do some offseason winners and losers. Do you want to start with the winners or the losers here?
Um, I think we can start low and then end it high. Let's do losers
Let's do
first.
it. Who's your biggest offseason loser this year?
So I feel like there's no like humongously big loser, but I mean some could say oh, I think the Cowboys losing Micah Parsons, that was pretty big. But honestly, like the 49ers, because like they're basically like rebuilding, but they signed Brock Purdy to this like insane contract and they have to get rid of like all their guys. And now like they're not really looking good going into the season. So I think that's a loser.
Yeah, the 49ers are an interesting one because it feels like everything should have been going right for them last season and then everything fell apart because of injuries and then now you're wondering if that magic will ever fully come back because I think a large part of why the 49ers were able to do so well is because you had Brock Purdy signed to such a low contract, you could allow the cap to be used in other ways, right? You could pay for other big players, but now, Debo's gone. Obviously, he wasn't very effective last season, but when the 49ers were good, he was such a big part of what they were doing. And now there's some more health concerns with Christian McCaffrey. Do you think he's going to be as impactful of a player this year, or do you feel like it feels like the injuries just continue to be a problem for him?
Yeah, I mean, if he gets injured, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be too surprised if he doesn't have a bad season because, I mean, for a guy like him to have that struggle, I feel like he could come back up, but, very uncertain with him.
It's definitely a little bit concerning just because he is such an important part of the team. Obviously, there was everybody's controversy with like, oh, I picked him first in fantasy, and then he just never played the whole year. And it feels like a little bit of a similar situation because he was limited in practice these past couple of days. He says he's fine, but that's exactly what he said last year, and then he ended up missing almost half the year and was not very effective when he ended up coming back. So he's going to have to be a big part of the 49ers season if they want to have some success. And so I agree with you. Definitely a little bit of a worry for them going into this season. I'm gonna stick with the NFC West as well because my biggest loser actually are the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like they were a team that was right on the border of potentially making it into the playoffs. Remember, it came down to that last week where they were playing against the Rams, and the Rams ended up beating them. But they lost Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and of course traded away Geno Smith and replaced him with Sam Darnold, and they signed Darnold to a $100 million contract over the next 3 seasons. I'm a little bit worried about what they're going to look like. I know that I felt like they were a team that was right on the edge of being a real big threat, but when you lose your second and third receivers, now it's just JSN kind of leading the way. And Sam Darnold, I do not think is as good as Geno Smith. I think that the Raiders actually might be a little bit better this year now that they have a real quarterback under their belt. Whereas Sam Darnold, I'm a little bit concerned because we saw what happened in that last playoff game where he really ended up struggling with the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have stayed for Gino for at least one more year and signed him to that low contract. But and I mean, they instead went to Sam Darnold, and now I feel like their whole entire team like has like not that much upside to be honest. Like I think it's hard to beat the season outcome from last year with the team that they have right
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what happens there in the NFC West because last year it was such a weird division, right? Because everybody was kind of like okay, decent, and then they were doing like kind of all around 500, and then the Rams actually ended up barely winning the division after they started off pretty slow. I feel like the Rams are in a really good position to just win that division out right now because of some of the downgrades from the 49ers and the Seahawks. The Cardinals are always going to try to kind of be like meh, I think, but I don't really think they're in a big position to win that division. But we'll get into that in a little bit more. Who's your biggest free agency and offseason winner this season?
My winner is the Bears, like the whole entire like ownership and like team, because I mean they got Ben Johnson, who was like the most wanted coach, and then they like signed him to a really big deal. But I think it was worth it for a coach like him, and also like Caleb Williams, he's really progressing, and like he has good signs in training camp. Also like Roma Dunze, he's looking pretty good too, and yeah, I feel like they could be like a dark horse in that division, and I think they're pretty hopeful for like being good in like the next 3 years at least.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about a loser in the offseason potentially being the Lions, not because of any of the players that they necessarily switched around, but because they lost both their coordinators, right? Now it's Ben Johnson's on the Bears, Aaron Glenn's over with the Jets, and so now there's big questions about what the Lions are going to be able to do. The Vikings obviously had a great season last year, but it felt like a little bit on the inconsistent side maybe or unstable side. And so now with the Bears having another year of Caleb Williams and having Ben Johnson as their new coach, I feel like there's a lot of excitement over there in Chicago, and yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what they can do as well. I'm curious I'm interested into seeing what who my offseason winner is. I don't I feel like in terms of a team, I don't really have anybody. You could say the Bengals because they locked up all their guys, but I think there's still a lot of holes that have to be answered with like the defense there. But I'll say the Patriots as well because they got another new coach. They got Mike Vrabel coming in. They have made some pretty significant upgrades to their defense, and if Stephon Diggs is able to play for the majority of this season, definitely going to be a big upgrade over whatever anybody in that wide receiver room was doing last season.
Yeah, and that was actually my other winner because I mean they in the offseason they did really well with their salary cap. I think they signed a lot of good like role players. They got like Milton Williams, they got like cornerback Carlton Davis, and like a ton of other guys who'd be like locks, like just being role players and the players that they need that they know will be consistent. And yeah, I feel like they're a hopeful team with Drake May. And yeah, they could be exposed to also Travion Henderson. I thought that was a good pick.
Yeah, Travion Henderson was great in college last year. Obviously, won a national championship with them and was such a big part of what they were doing. And so pairing him with like Ramondre Stevenson, there's already been some interviews with them where they are like, oh yeah, we see each other as like a big like a team. We're gonna work like a 1-2 unit. There's no starter. There's no backup. It feels like a similar situation to what like Jameer Gibbs and Dave Montgomery could be doing over on the Lions. And so I'm pretty excited about what they can do alongside Drake May, who's of course also going into another season. So the teams that drafted quarterbacks last year, we're both pretty excited about Xavier. But before we get into our predictions and everything, let's talk about the rookie class a little bit more. Are there any other rookies that really caught your eye, or are you excited to watch this season after seeing what happened in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I thought last draft class was, I mean, pretty good. And they have like a ton of like running backs. They got like Ashton Jenney, Marion Hampton, R.J. Harvey, of course, Trayvon Henderson. I like to see how those running backs play out. And yeah, I'm excited for the rookies.
I'm excited for two people specifically. The first one is Travis Hunter, obviously, because he was such a dynamic player on Colorado. But I'm really curious as to see what the Jaguars are going to be able to do with him. Are they going to be? How are they going to be utilizing him? Will they play him mostly a wide receiver, mostly a quarterback, cornerback? Are they really going to use him on both ends of the fields, like especially from the start? Which is a lot to kind of take in for an NFL player or an NFL rookie. But yeah, I'm really interested into seeing how that ends up working out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's going to play both sides, but I mean, we'll see how that holds up as the season progresses. And yeah.
Yeah, and one more player I'm excited for a little bit. Tyler Warren over on the Colts. He was such a great tight end for Penn State, And with the way the Colts quarterback situation is looking, it feels like they don't have a ton of really good wide receivers, and so maybe just easy passes into the tight ends is something that we saw with like Brock Bowers last year. I feel like that's going to be maybe a world where Tyler Warren really can shine because he's such a dynamic receiver as well as just being like a good overall tight end.
Yeah, I mean, he was a star on Penn State. He was like their number one like receiving unit, and he was a tight end. And I think that could really play well into the Colts offense. Like you said, the Brock Bowers, like how he played, I think he could take that role and he'd do well.
Definitely. Well, we're super excited with all the offseason moves and all the new rosters going into the year. It's going to be really fun. But let's get into some predictions here, Xavier, because that's the most fun part about a preseason NFL show when everybody predicts who's going to win each division and win the conference and eventually win that Super Bowl just to see how right or wrong we are by the end of the year. Do you want to start off in the AFC? Let's start off in the AFC. We can go just
Yeah.
traditional down the line. Who do you got in the AFC East?
Of course, I got the Bills. I mean, I don't really see any other contenders in that division. But Pats are hopeful. But I mean, just the Bills, Josh Allen. So take
Yeah,
them on.
I think that's probably one of the easiest ones with the Bills, just because everyone else in the division, like there's a world where one of the Dolphins, Patriots, or Jets is competing for a wild card spot, but I think it's pretty unlikely that any of them end up contesting for the division. Like there's upsides for all those teams, but there's also some pretty big downsides in my opinion. So Bills all the way. Josh Allen, reigning MVP, exciting to see what he can do this season. Let's go to the AFC North. Who do you think is winning that division?
I see this like close race between the Ravens and the Bengals, but I mean, I'm taking the Ravens' firepower and their defense is looking great, so I think they could steal the division from the Bengals.
Yeah, the Ravens just locked up Kyle Hamilton as well to a really big extension. That's a big win for them. He's one of the best safeties in the league, and of course Lamar Jackson kind of doing his thing as well. We'll see what Derrick Henry looks like. I feel like last year he was awesome, but of course he's getting towards that older side, and so we'll see how long it takes for him to for the wheels to maybe fall off a little bit. But I'm really still overall excited about this Ravens team. I love the Bengals. I love that they locked up their core of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson finally for all the next season. But now, like 75% of their cap is on those four players, and so it's gonna be really hard. It's really hard for them to try to build out the rest of the team. You already saw they had some concerns with drafting with even signing their rookie Shamar Stewart at the start of the offseason after they drafted him. So you could tell that the payroll is definitely going to be a concern for them. Quickly, do you think the Steelers have any chance, or do you not believe in Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, they could. I mean, their defense looks, I mean, pretty good, but like compared to the Ravens and Bengals, I don't think they have it.
I think I agree. I think this is going to be the first year under Mike Tomlin that they go under 500. I feel like this is one of the weaker rosters that we've seen. However, I feel like a lot of analysts say that every year, and then they end up finishing 9-8 anyway. So we'll see them maybe prove us wrong this season. Let's go to the AFC South, Xavier. Who do you have winning in the AFC South?
Um, so I mean, most people pick the Texans, but I mean, I'm gonna go with the Jags because I know
Ooh.
everyone thinks Trevor Lawrence. Oh, he like sucks, but like if he has a good season, they have Brian Thomas Jr. They got Travis Hunter, and they got that. I think they have a good tight end and like Brendan Strange, and I mean they got on defense. I mean Travis Hunter plays well. They also got like Josh Allen. I mean, I think they're not the Jaguars aren't going to have the best record, but I think they're going to have a good enough record to win the AFC South potentially.
That's a really that's a fun pick, and I was really thinking about picking the Jaguars, especially because man, the Texans just traded away another one of their offensive linemen, and they're just CJ Stroud's gonna have such a tough time this season. Um, this is, in my opinion, the weakest division in the league, in the AFC at least, but I'd say in the league, you could maybe say the NFC West, but I think this division maybe is even worse. And so I could definitely see the Jaguars go 9-8 and just end up winning, sneaking away with this division because it's uh it's a rough one. I'm still gonna go the Texans, but I don't feel super strong about it. I think the rest of the teams definitely aren't as good. I think it'll be a close battle between Houston and Jacksonville, and I like the Jacksonville pick, but I'm gonna say just trusting a little bit in what the Texans can do. And last up, we have the AFC West. Now, the Chiefs currently, Xavier, are in last place in that division because they are 0-1. Do you think that they're going to stay there, or do you think somebody else is going to end up down there?
I think they're gonna pass the Raiders at least.
But it's a hot
Hopefully,
take.
hopefully not. Hopefully not.
The fun hot take is that the Chiefs aren't going to win the division this year, though. Do you think that's still going to happen, or are you trusting somebody else now?
Cheap. I believe in the Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. Going next, he's gonna have. I don't think he's gonna have a sophomore slump. I mean, their defense is top three in the league easily. I mean, yeah, like Pat Surtain, I just like love their whole entire team. And I mean, they got I mean, yeah, just like a ton of players with a ton of upside, and they got that running back RJ Harvey. I mean, I think they could steal the division, and which I think is the most fun division in the league right now, just because of Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs, and yeah,
Yeah, it sneakily became very exciting down there because I feel like going into the year, I was like, oh, the Chiefs are just going to run away with this division, and then like, oh, the rest of the division kind of stinks because for me, the Broncos were the team last year that got blown out by the Dolphins 70-14 the year before, and everything like that. I didn't have too much trust in them, but they obviously look great. You talked about all the pieces that they had, but like Cortland Sutton coming back, Marvin Mims having a really good second half of the season. And then obviously you saw what the Chargers are able to do. If Justin Herbert can play like that, and if Quentin Johnston can catch those 2 touchdowns consistently throughout the year, I mean that's going to be a very scary Chargers team as well. And we already talked about the Raiders, but I think while all three of those teams are going to be in wild card contention, I think there's a good chance that all of them finish with more than 7 wins. I still have the Chiefs winning this one because it really feels hard to bet against the Chiefs. Although now that you mention it, we're going to talk about the game a little bit later. But Xavier Worthy getting hurt, Rashee Rice being out for the start of the year, they're going to have to definitely battle in this division. But I also am going to predict that they end up finishing at the top of this one. So we have our AFC predictions done. Quickly, do you wanna predict who is gonna win the AFC? And then we could do our Super Bowl after we go through the NFC.
AFC. I honestly think the Ravens are gonna win. I think Lamar's finally gonna get it to go deep in the playoffs. I think this is their year with like the defense they have, and yeah, there's just too much firepower on the team to not believe in them.
I would love a Ravens Super Bowl. I feel like it's very overdue for them, and so I'm gonna predict. Should I? I don't want to predict the same team though. So you know what? I'll get spicy. I will say the Chargers make it to the Super Bowl after seeing them beat the Chiefs last night. Just because, hey, they beat the AFC champions, so now they're the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean you're technically not wrong.
They have the best record. I think it'll be Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens kind of competing towards the top of the table. But let's I'll be spicy. I'll say the Chargers
I can see that happening.
are gonna make it. Hey, they looked really good yesterday. Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and then obviously Omarion Hampton didn't do too much last night, but I still feel very confident in his abilities moving forward. Let's move on to the NFC now, where we also got our first game of the season in the Eagles taking down the Cowboys. Let's start off in that division, Xavier. I feel like I have a prediction of who you're gonna have winning this division.
Yeah, I mean go Birds. Yeah, there's gonna win.
They are definitely the favorites. Now, I will say the Commanders also look very interesting. They did trade Brian Robinson over to the Niners, which I'm curious to see how they're going to be able to kind of maneuver around that. But I still think that Jaden Daniels is going to still have another great year. Terry McLaurin just re-signed with them, so hopefully that should be a good set of pieces for them. But I'm still going to pick the Eagles. Going over to the NFC North, another pretty exciting division, Xavier. Who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, the NFC North and the AFC West, I think, are the top two divisions to watch in between division races. But I mean, I just don't think the Lions are gonna take the division again this year. I mean, between the three teams, I just don't see the Vikings winning it. But honestly, I have the Packers just because Micah Parsons. They got the Xavier McKinney had the most interceptions last year. Defense is looking great. I mean, they got Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. He's not a bad quarterback. I mean, when he plays good, this team is really good, and I think it's going to be a really tight race because all these teams. But I see the Packers coming on top.
Packers are a really fun pick right now, and definitely was thinking about them. I still have faith in the Lions' just overall skill of players. I think obviously they suffered a lot of injuries last season, which I think was a large reason as to why they fell off a little bit towards the second half and ended up, of course, losing to the Commanders in that playoff game. I mean, remember the score? Like the Commanders put up like 45 points against them or something like that at the end. So I think if their defense is able to be locked down, obviously Aiden Hutchinson coming back is going to be big like that, I think will be enough, hopefully, for them to still hold themselves atop the division. I think Jameer Gibbs is going to have like an MVP caliber season this year as well. I'm really excited what he can do, and it seems like from the reports from the coaching staff is that he might get even more reps than he did last year over somebody like Dave Montgomery. So I'm still going to stand with the Lions. NFC South, who's your prediction here?
NFC South, I also see this being a pretty tight race. Not saying that any of these teams is going to be like 14-3, but I mean, I just gotta have the Bucks just because I mean they got Emeka Buka, receiving core. Bucky Irving's a really hopeful running back. I think Baker can have another great season. I don't think age will really slow him down, but yeah, I have him on top.
I feel like it's really hard to predict anybody other than the Bucks right now because I agree they had a really good offseason as well as of course winning the division last year and looking pretty good. I mean even in that loss that they had to the Commanders in the playoffs, like I still thought that they like had a pretty good team overall, but um, I feel like a part of me wants to say the Falcons, but I don't really have any belief in that. I think it's just going to be the Bucks again here. I'm going to be boring, and I think I'm just going to predict all four of the division winners from last season at this point because that's kind of just where my head's at right now. So going over to NFC West, I mean, I already said I think the Rams have a good chance to win this division. Do you agree, or do you think it'll be somebody else?
I agree with you just because none of the other teams got better except the Rams, so I just think they're gonna take the division.
Yeah, I mean, adding Devontae Adams as like your second, receiver, that's definitely like not a bad option, even though obviously he's getting older as well. Matt Stafford obviously like continuing to, question. We're wondering like how much longer he has left to play in the league too. But when he's healthy and when he's right, he's always one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL as well. So yeah, I think I agree with you here. Rams are gonna win this one. In the NFC West. So I know you're gonna have the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I mean, do you unless you are gonna say something else? Any other thoughts here for you?
I mean, I can't really say no because I mean the roster is just like stacked. I mean, and the coaching's where it's at. But I mean, yeah, you could go.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Lions again. I think that if they were healthy last year, they would have been able to make it pretty far. So I'm gonna go with them to win the NFC North, and I'm gonna say they win the Super Bowl too. I picked my spicy AFC pick, but I'm gonna stay with the favorite this time around. Harbaugh going up against Detroit would be a fun story, but Xavier, officially, who's your Super Bowl prediction?
Do you just want me not to pick the Eagles? I mean, I'm fine with
No, no, no.
not.
You should. You should. I'm just saying. I just
Okay,
want to make sure that
I'll
you're
just I'll
still
just do
there.
anyone but the Eagles right now. So I mean, honestly, I don't hate the Lions being in the Super Bowl. To be honest, I mean, like you said, if they're healthy, they're just like one of the best teams in the league, and it's really hard to stop them. The question is really if their defense can hold up.
Yeah. I mean, that's always going to be the big question: is the defense going to hold up, is the health going to be there? So I agree with you. That's where I'm at there. We'll go with the Lions at least for now, and that takes us into some of our Week 1 of the NFL stuff. Real quick, let's talk about some of the games that happened earlier as we're recording this on a Saturday. The Cowboys losing to the Eagles on the first day of the season. I know you're pretty happy about Xavier, but that was a pretty close game. And, it started off really weird with the whole scuffle, right? And the ejection that started out things. Like, I guess overall, are you worried that this was a close game, or do you think that it's going to be fine for the Eagles?
I think it's fine because I mean, it's like our worst game played in the Cowboys like best. So I mean, I think we can definitely come up from that. And also, I feel like if they didn't like cancel the rest of the game, you would have put a little more points on them.
That's true. They're probably playing a little bit more safe after the rain and the lightning and everything. Just like don't want to get anybody hurt, and hopefully that ended up being the case. Obviously, Jalen Hurts just managing the game really well. You see the stat line, and it's like, oh, he only passed for 152 yards, but he ran for 2 touchdowns. It felt like he was really in control the whole time, and so that's kind of always going to be how them and the Eagles function as you have the Jalen Hurts jersey on. The Cowboys, sneakily, I'm a little bit excited about like what they can do. Maybe they can sneak into the playoff spot if things go their way. Javonte Williams looks really good. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, like if he didn't drop those passes, the game could have looked totally different, right? And so that's where I'm slightly excited to see like just where they end up falling, but obviously think the Eagles are the much better team here.
I agree. I mean, of course, I don't like the Cowboys, but I mean, they're not looking like the worst team in the NFL. So
Yeah, it looked like sometimes they were last year, so that's fair enough. The defense I'm still very concerned about. The game that happened yesterday, though, Chargers upsetting the Chiefs in Sao Paulo. This was a pretty fun game to watch, Xavier. I don't know how much of this you caught, but overall, just pretty entertaining all the way through.
yeah, I watched like 3 quarters, but all I saw was Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert. I mean, 318 yards, 3 tutties, and he also ran for a bit. He was just like had an amazing game. I think he just put the Chargers on his back, especially with Omarion Hampton not having the best game. And yeah, he's just like balling out, and then turns out that they won because of that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always talks about, oh, we're super excited about Justin Herbert this, Justin Herbert that, but he really showed it against the Chiefs here. Obviously, it's just week 1, but we'll see if he can continue that level of play. I kind of didn't even realize that Tyler Conklin joined the Chargers. I mean, that was probably one of the better games that he's had in a while. He was on the Jets for a couple of seasons, didn't end up doing too much for them, but I'm pretty pumped to see what the Chargers have to offer. Obviously, my Super Bowl pick now that I ended up going that way. Are you worried at all about the Chiefs and their injuries now that Xavier Worthy also was taken
Oh,
off the field, or do you
I
feel like
mean,
they have enough to try to continue to you know handle business here?
I will be worried if he's out for like a long time because I mean he's the prime receiver, and I heard them say, "Oh, we have a ton of work planned for Xavier Worthy," and without them, like Mahomes really has to like do Mahomes magic because I mean Hollywood Brown as their number 1 receiver is I mean not the best, but Mahomes had I think he had a pretty good game. Um, yeah, not throwing any picks. I thought he looked decent. And the Chargers wide receiving core isn't looking too bad, to be honest. Keenan Allen, Ladon Conkey, and Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, Keenan Allen coming over there, definitely a pretty fun addition as well. We'll see what Hollywood Brown and Juju can do in the meantime. Kelsey obviously had a really nice touchdown pass, but outside of that, didn't do a whole lot. So we'll see how that ends up looking going forward. But now let's talk about some of our predictions here. Our favorite part of the show for week number 1, Xavier. Is there any games that you want to talk about as being pretty big games, or I guess I could start things off. We got the Bucks taking on the Falcons here in the first game, one of the first games of the year.
Yeah, when you said big games right now, I'm looking at Sunday night, Monday night, and Lions versus Packers. You got Ravens, Bills, Vikings, Bears. Yeah, and Lions, Packers. I think those 3 games have potential.
All right.
And
Well,
a sneaky good game. I think you could take Panthers, Jaguars, or Bucks, Falcons.
yeah, Panthers Jaguars is going to be an interesting one. You have I feel like the Panthers look better and better as the season kind of progressed last year. Obviously, they had a horrible start where they ended up benching Bryce Young, but once he came back, they ended up actually looking not too bad. Chuba Hubbard, of course, signing a big deal. He's going to be there for a while as well. Let's just do those 3 big games before we wrap up the show, Xavier, in terms of our predictions. Let's start off with Lions Packers. Who do you got?
I got the Lions coming out strong, even though I said the Packers were going to win the division. I think they could beat the Lions later in the season, but I got Lions.
Yeah, they're going to be in Green Bay, which to me is a little bit more favored towards the Packers. However, Micah Parsons still dealing with a little bit of an injury, still I believe uncertain if he's going to be playing tomorrow. So I'm going to say the Lions win this one. We'll say like a pretty high-scoring game, 31-21 final score.
My prediction will be 28-24 close game lines.
Okay, so we both have the Lions winning this game, and we'll go on to Sunday Night Football, Ravens Bills. I mean, this is just going to be a classic. Who do you have winning this game?
I know it's in Buffalo, but I mean, I think the Ravens are gonna win this game just because of their defense. I think they stop the Bills. I'm gonna go. Let's say 30-21 Ravens. Two-score game.
31-21 Ravens beating them in Buffalo, getting revenge after last year's playoff game. I'm going to say the Bills win this one. I think Sunday night under the lights in Buffalo, Josh Allen will be able to deliver. I'm going to say it's a little bit more of a low-scoring game though. I'm going to say 20-17 final score. Bills are going to take it. And we'll move on to Monday night as well. Division showdown in the NFC North between the Vikings and the Bears. I feel like a team that is kind of on a downward trajectory versus a team on the upward trajectory. We got Caleb Williams against J.J. McCarthy, Xavier, in week number 1. Who do you got?
I mean, J.J. McCarthy's like first career NFL start. So I mean, I don't think he can really have an amazing game as first start. So I mean, I got the upwards trajectory team and Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson putting together a game. I'm gonna say close game though. I'm gonna say Bears 24, Vikings 17.
Okay. I'm gonna say the Vikings win this one. Now I know Jordan Addison is still hurt and or still suspended, and JJ coming in is gonna be a big question mark. But I feel like there's a lot of stability kind of in that team. The defense still gonna be really good for them. Um, and I think it's gonna take a little bit of time for the Bears to get going. While I think that I have a good chance to sneak into the playoffs, I'm gonna have the Vikings coming into Soldier Field and winning this one, just to add a little bit of pain into the Bears fans' minds because I feel like they're pretty hopeful right now. They got to be put down a little bit. So I'll have I also think JJ coming in. I'm not super confident about him, but he has a similar trajectory to maybe what Sam Darnold can do. So I'll have the Vikings winning this one, 24-20 final score. That's gonna do it for this episode of This Week in Football. Xavier, thanks so much for joining us. We're excited for another year here in this show in the NFL. What do you have to say before we wrap up the show?
Peace.
All right, peace out, everybody. We will see you next week for week 2.